And good morning once again. And we do apologize for the slightly delayed start for some of you. Apparently we weren't streaming on a couple of the various options, but that definitely gave us a chance to move from a rather empty dam to find this wonderful little herd of elephants who were just sitting waiting for us. I was actually coming to check out the African hawk eagle nest on Central Road, but these elephants took me by surprise, and here we are. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie and I have Jean-Ray on camera with me. Scott is following up on those mating leopards from yesterday's sunset safari. He is around Gallagher Shortcut with VM on camera. And we have Nikki and Jess in FC and Eugene tackling all of the technical issues. Now what I want to do is just reposition us slightly so that we can get a nice view of these Ellies. There is quite a tiny baby in the back there, so we're going to have to do it nice and slowly. But quite a sweet young calf. Anyway, and that is the joy of these live safaris, is that you just never know what it is you're going to find. A quick update as I reposition is that I've just heard from the guides that the lines that we were planning on following up with, so the Birmingham boys and that one Nkuhuma lioness, well, they've actually crossed south of our boundary. They've already crossed South Gowrie Main and headed towards Little Gowrie. So it seems as though we won't be with them this morning. However, there's something really important that I want to check, and that is why they went south, and if it is in any way connected to the presence of those Salati males up in Buffelshoek, because that will give us a very interesting insight into the dynamics between those coalitions. Good morning, Ellies. Hello, little one. Just going to stop here for a moment, let them get more comfortable with our presence. Sorry guys for the silence. It's nice to sit and listen to the Ellies, but I'm also just listening to the Game Drive channel. And the reason I'm listening so intently is it's very interesting. Does sound as though they might have spotted Karula. Hey, okay. Now it seems as though the guides had a brief glimpse of Karula, but they are going to try and relocate her. They've lost track of her now. But I'm just going to let them know that I will be heading in that direction at a later stage to help them follow up. Tax. Oh, good morning. Can you keep me updated on her movements? I'll come by there later.
a start that was to the morning. We've managed to find Tingana and Kwatile again. And you couldn't have joined us at a better time, as this was the first time that we've seen them mate this morning. Wasn't that wonderful? Well, we've just found them, and it's quite a tricky spot that they're in, so we're going to reposition the vehicle shortly to get you some better views. But the good news is we have found them, and we are going to be able to stay with them for quite some time. Well, morning everyone, and my name is Scott. Great to have you on board with me, and I'm teamed up with VM on camera. We're actually, oh, here she goes again, maybe. Let's see what happens here. Sorry, I tried to move the vehicle to get you guys a better view, and it worked out quite well as Tingana came running up straight past us. She was following him too. Worked out very well for us, and I'd be so lucky to be seeing them again. We got to see them yesterday. We'll tell you more about how we did manage to track them down and find them, but we're going to send you back to Jamie with those elephants and get into another good spot before we call you back.
Welcome back, and what exciting news that Scott has got those two mating leopards once again. And what a treat for all of us and all of the viewers to be able to watch these incredible moments in the lives of these animals. We are sitting with one of my favorite animals to watch, the African elephant. And Mommy here is feeding on the bright green leaves of this acacia. Oh, she's going to shift to some grass now. Now, just before we cut away, I mentioned that Jandre picked up on a squirrel alarm calling, and I'm fairly certain it's alarm calling in response to an African hawk eagle that we saw just as we drove in. The hawk eagle flew away, and I got distracted by the elephants. Getting right into the roots there. There you go, beating away to get the dust and the sand off her breakfast. Oh, excuse me. Now we're starting already to see a change in the feeding patterns of the ellies. As wonderful as these elephants are, I know that many of you will be very, very keen to see the action happening with Tingana and Kwatile. So for now, let's head across to Scott. He's in a slightly better signal region, and we will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back everyone, and as you can see we've got into a good spot now. We have them approaching us. They are going to be moving through some fairly thick vegetation if they do continue in this direction. But hopefully Kwatile, this female leopard, will continue to seduce Tingana every 5 to 10 minutes, and that will slow them down and allow us some incredible views of them mating. We're not sure exactly when they started, but we definitely did see them mating from early yesterday afternoon. And we saw them copulate about 10 times in the 2.5 hours that we were with them. And this morning we got really fortunate, headed out in the general direction of where they were, and found both of their tracks heading towards the small little waterhole in front of the Gallagher camp. And from there we switched the vehicle off and actually took a short walk around there looking for tracks. But couldn't find any further tracks, but thankfully while we were sitting silently we got to hear them vocalizing on 2 different occasions. And we must say a big thank you to VM, who's on camera, because he is the one that actually spotted them off in the thick bush. Texan's just shooting across to get his guests a potentially frontal view of them as they continue off in an easterly direction. Now we've got some really interesting information. Apparently Karula is not far away from here at all. She's actually in the Gallagher camp. So that's some more exciting news. We're going to continue now. So, let's hope Jamie has some luck finding any further sign of the Birmingham boys while we are on this wonderful sighting. And isn't it great that we can share this remarkable interaction between 2 such usually shy and elusive predators, with all of you guys watching from different time zones, different countries all around the world. If it is your first live safari, it's good to have you with us. We should be in a good spot shortly to stop and let VM do his magical work on the camera. Closely, it looks like she's trying to seduce him again. Wow, wasn't that really intense? I can't believe the intensity of these copulations. They usually tend to lessen in intensity. We're going just meters past our vehicle. We've got a great idea of how much bigger he is than here. Now it's scent marking. Wow, wasn't that great? Just need to be careful, don't reverse too quickly, I don't want to spook them. They do seem to be moving with quite a lot of intent, and Tingana that's actually leading Kwatile through his territory as opposed to the other way around. She's deep out of her territory there. Stop here, a bit of an awkward spot, but I just want to make sure Texan and his guests also get some good views. morning, Sherry in Los Angeles. Good to have you with us. And Sherry's noticed that injury behind her right shoulder, as I'm sure a lot of you would have also. It's a little pink patch. And Sherry's interested to know whether it's a mating caused by, injury caused by the mating. And no, I don't think it is. We actually saw her with this injury before they actually started mating, when she was still trying to seduce him. And that was probably 3 days ago now. Well, it was 3 days ago now at the Aracusa Waterhole. Jamie managed to track him down that morning, and also that afternoon. It didn't see any of the actual copulation. She was trying her best to seduce him with these elegant dances that she performs, but he didn't give in until we found him yesterday afternoon. The wound, Sherry, does appear to have increased in size ever so slightly, so it's looking a little bit worse, I guess. I'm not too sure what would have caused it. All I can see is one little hole. She's been licking it quite a lot, and I think that's increased the size of the wound. Sherry, what we will do is, I'm sure at some stage we will be able to get you some better views of these leopards, especially of Kwatile and her injury. And I'm told that it looks like there's actually 2 little puncture wounds. Possibly an animal may have gored her, maybe a warthog or a duiker may have run into her. Hard to say, but it will be interesting to monitor how that wound heals. Okay, well, great news. Jamie is ready to receive you guys on another vehicle, and she's got some other wonderful animals to share with you while I'm not sure if something's run across there. There's a steenbok VMs also. That's what caused them to increase their alertness, and he trotted a few steps, but a steenbok, I think, is too small and too quick now that it's noticed them for them to have any chance in catching them. So we are going to send you across to Jamie, and we're going to loop ahead of the leopards again and then get you another view shortly.
Welcome back, and what exciting stuff happening there with those 2 leopards. And in the meantime, while Scott repositions, we have also repositioned just to give ourselves a slightly better look at the Ellie herd. Now, just as we've been watching this female's pushed her way into an incredibly thorny situation, she's pushed back a combination of buffalo thorns and knob thorns, which are the 2 worst thorns to have out here. And she's made her way in. There's obviously something there that she's very keen on eating. So let's have a look at what she's nibbling on. I just want to see. Oh, she's got some knob thorn there in her mouth. That was obviously some young knob thorn that she was after, not the older, larger tree. And I was saying earlier that we're starting to see a change in their feeding behavior. They're already focusing on the new green grass shoots and less on the roots of the trees or the raisin bushes that they've been uprooting over the last month or so. It was absolutely phenomenal to see her push her way in there like it was nothing. Those thorns don't have any impact on her mouth at all. The nice thing about the position that we're in is that they seem very, very comfortable. Most of these herd members actually approached us once we'd stopped, and they're really comfortable with our presence. You can see their body language is completely relaxed. Well, using that tusk as a useful tool in uprooting, well, in pulling off branches and main stems. And in it goes, devouring young knob thorns. And it's one of the most... I was going to tell you about the important ecological role that this plays in terms of keeping these areas a little bit more open. However, Scott is back in position with those mating leopards, and I'm sure he's got plenty to show you there. So for now, I'm going to head across to him, and I'll be back with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. And I don't think the steenbok's got anything to worry about, but the leopard are on the way towards it. And it's probably just going to lie down and try and hide here. This is really interesting. Isn't this really, really interesting? The steenbok knows the leopard's here, but it's just lying hiding. There the leopard on the middle left of your screen, and I've never actually seen a steenbok perform like this before, so this is really interesting behavior. It knows that hiding is a very, very good form of defense. This leopard have got no idea it's here. The wind is in the steenbok's favor, and now we're going to walk past meters away from it. Great news. Well, good to have you back on our vehicle. And I think the little tail flip we saw from Saturday means you may be interested in trying to seduce him one more time. But I think we can reposition before he does that again. It's quite hard to predict what her movements are going to be exactly. So what I'm trying to do is just to always stay ahead of them, and then in the event that she does start to try and seduce him, we can try and get you into a great spot. Now, we're going to try our best to avoid the vehicles as much as possible, because some people don't like being filmed, but from here it should be okay, because you can't see who anyone is really. But if you do see Vien doing any strange maneuvers to avoid showing the guests, you now know why. Is she going to go for it again? I think she is. Well, those are some of my friends that are in the sighting with us. A good friend of mine is out here with 18 of his family and friends, and I was just trying to snap off some shots of the leopards and them, and I think those are going to be up on some of their walls soon, because it's not very often that you get to see a mating pair of leopards, and we have been absolutely spoiled yesterday, and our luck appears to be continuing today. Now heading down into a riverbed where it may be fairly tricky for us to follow that, but trying to move this place around for another good view. but thankfully our little vehicle we should be able to keep up with them. I'm just going to let the other vehicles get into position first because it takes them a bit longer. But wasn't that absolutely awesome? We've been spoiled with so many different views of their mating, and the intensity and growling and claws and paws swinging out at one another is really still quite impressive, and it'll be interesting to see how much longer they mate for. They may move off our property at some stage, but we should still be able to get updates from the other vehicles on to in regards to where and when they may stop this mating. But if it was only yesterday that they started, which is possible, speaking to Steph, he said he's seen a female that's had to spend 24 hours trying to win over a male. And we saw similar behavior with the Inkehuma lioness and the Birmingham males. So different species, but still similar behavior. She's going for it again, so it's a good spot. There we go. Absolutely awesome. Now, it'll be interesting to see if her behavior is the same as yesterday. She tended to seduce him for about 3 or 4 intervals in a short space of time and then wait for about half an hour or so before the next flood of mating. She's just snuck between the two vehicles there. It's remarkable how habituated and relaxed these animals get with the vehicles, and that's something very important to remember, especially if you are a first-time viewer. Normally, there are shy animals that you only ever get fleeting glimpses of them. Sounds we are absolutely spoiled with the proximity that we can get to the animals, and also just the amount of leopard in this area. It's very high leopard density, and there's not many places in Africa where you can see sightings of this quality of leopard. I hope a lot of you are taking screenshots. You've heard me going crazy with my camera. It's because this is a very rare and unique sighting, and we're getting so many great opportunities to see them out in the open. This is going to get tricky in here. But thankfully, because there are 2 vehicles, we should hopefully be able to keep an eye on them. Notice the leaves and bushes blowing in the wind. The leopards will be cautious, and that's why every few meters they'll stop and listen for not only potential prey. There goes Kwatile, just below Tingana. And I just need to update Tex and Aubrey. Tex, I've got your audio. She's just lay up in the drainage between you and me. Sorry, a few awkward angles. Tex, I don't think it's worth it. They are looking to continue east in this drainage. Here she goes again. Incredible. And off they go again. So now it's time for us to try and work out where the best spot is to go next. I'm not too sure. It's going to be a bit tricky. Oh, sorry there. That wasn't the right way. I reversed into a little stump, obviously. Quite a big stump, not a little one. Okay. So we try and get back onto the road, and then we're going to loop ahead. There's a small little riverbed that flows into the Mwati, and we need to get onto the other side of that. So hold on everyone, this might be a little bit bumpy. Time is of the essence here. It's incredible how quickly they can disappear and melt into this thick vegetation. It probably wouldn't take us too long to relocate them because of the audio that they're letting out so often. Okay, so it's like a little spot that we can weave through. Just up ahead here, so I'll give you a brief glimpse of them. There's one, you can see the spotted coat in amongst that green foliage. But I'm going to continue trying to get ahead of them, as we're going to have to do a fair amount of negotiating through this.
Welcome back, and as those leopards make their way into the drainage line and the sort of black hole area of signal, we are still with this elephant herd, and I must say it's quite a phenomenal experience. I thought it was just the few that we were looking at earlier, and I decided to loop around to see if we could get a better view, and discovered that this herd is actually enormous. There's at least 20 elephants around us, babies of all sizes and shapes. Got a couple of them up on the termite mound, there's some in front of me, there's a lot behind me. It really is quite a special moment. I love being surrounded by elephants. There's just such a feeling of contentment and peace. They're all completely relaxed and just feeding away, quietly enjoying their breakfast. I'm not going to get the best view of the female up on the termite mound. There you can see there were quite a few of them earlier, all enjoying the extra nutritional content that inevitably accompanies plants growing on a termite mound. And we've got some off to the front of me, and if I duck down here, there you go, this little one has collected a buffalo thorn and is working very, very hard to debark it. Really doing fairly well, but not quite as smooth as some of the adults seem to manage to do that. I imagine that technique takes a little bit of practice. There you go. I don't think that this little elephant wants the bit with all the leaves. It wants that thick bit. Still trying to strip the bark. Look how cool that is. Stripping with its trunk, then into the mouth it goes, using its teeth to hold it. And then alternating, you can actually see it rotating that branch round and round with its molars, and then using the trunk to reposition and then strip. The other thing that's so awesome about how relaxed these ellies are is that even the youngsters, and there are some very young babies, I've noticed, are quite happy to be fairly far away from their mothers. This little one's decided to take over the buffalo thorn and see if it will have any more luck. Now the interesting thing about watching this ellie eating the buffalo thorn is that that's a type of food that as human beings we can also utilize. Now I wouldn't advise going out and nibbling away at the bark as this ellie's doing, but we are more than capable of eating the leaves. It's almost like a fresh young baby spinach. To me they are fairly tasteless, my personal opinion, but if you are out here and you do need some extra food, then that is the way to go. Good morning. Yes. Oh, distraction, something interesting to eat right in front of the car. Hello. There you can see just in one shot we've got lots and lots of ellies around us. 5 right on our left and a lot more to the back. However, Scott has been working very, very hard to stay with those mating leopards, so we're going to head across to him for now, and I will stick with his ellies and be back with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. And it looks like the mating pair have decided to take some time to relax and groom themselves. They may have a few slight nicks and scratches that they've given one another as they swat out after the painful copulations. If any of you are joining for the first time, you may be wondering why exactly is it such an aggressive affair, and that's because the penis of a leopard is barbed, and as they dismount it's incredibly painful for both the male and the female. Yesterday I was asked which animal it's more painful for, and hard to say. I would say probably 50-50, but maybe slightly skewed to one of the genders. And the reason why cats do have barbed penis, it's not just the leopard, lion, domestic cats will all have the similar or same appendage, and that's to help induce ovulation. And Claire in New York is wanting to know what I mean by the cats having this barbed penis. And basically there's lots of tiny little hooks on his penis that are facing backwards, so inserting is not a problem, but when he dismounts, naturally it tends to get a little bit stuck, and therefore as he pulls it out it's painful for both of them. we're so close, there's a chance you may even be able to hear that. How lucky are we? I'm just going to help get Andrew into the sighting, so give me a second on the Game Drive channel, please. Andrew, go ahead. Andrew, I headed south just on the eastern side of the drainage. I can start up my vehicle for you to let you know where I am, but we are just east of the drainage, probably 50 or 60 meters south of Central. Started up to give Andrew an idea of where we are. We gave a little bit of a rev, and that will help him to pinpoint where we are, and now he can decide how best to get his vehicle in here. And VM pointed out a little bit earlier that he's got a very slight nick on his right paw that you might be able to see, and I'm guessing that could be a result of this aggressive mating. Andrew, we south of Central, east of the drainage. And now he's taking some time to tend to that little wound. We've been lucky enough to see them mating quite a few times now, and you've heard the loud commotion of growls and rumbles as they do that. And that's actually how we located them this morning. Their tracks led us into the general area, and then it was two different vocalizations that allowed us to pinpoint exactly where they were. And James has sent through an email wondering how far will the audio travel in perfect conditions. You know, what if it's not really going tight on his penis there? I doubt we will be able to see any barbs, but it was sticking out ever so slightly, and there's no better way to explain something than to actually visually see it. But I think the barbs are so small that we actually probably won't be able to see them. I've never been able to notice them before, and that's why I said they're just tiny little hooks. But James, and in terms of hearing the audio, I would say somebody with very good hearing would be able to hear it from about 1 kilometer away. If it excuse me, if it was dead still, no wind, and in the drier winter months of the year when the vegetation doesn't absorb the audio. Andrew's just having a hard time getting into the sighting, so I just want to give him a rev quickly. Oh. Before I do that, let's just... When we did hear them, we were probably 300-400 meters away from them this morning. Quite interesting. It looks, I know, I thought she was going to lean up onto this bush willow tree that she's standing next to and sharpen her claws. But she Yes, she was looking up at the tree, thinking about it for a second. as they disappear off into this thick bush, there's a couple of things that we're going to need to do. We're going to have to reposition, and I also want to just try my best to get Andrew into the sighting. And it's a little bit tricky when I'm chatting with you guys and trying to chat with them. Also, I can't just speak to him whenever it suits me because other people are having conversations on the Gaiden Drive channel. So give us a few moments. We'll stay with these leopard and call you back once we get another good view of them. Over to Jamie with some other wonderful animals for you to see.
Welcome back. And as you can see, we are still with our wonderful herd of ellies. I did a quick head count while we were sitting waiting, and I've counted 18 that I can see for sure, but I can definitely hear more somewhere around us. And it's been so much fun just sitting and watching the babies like this one here both feed and play. I think this is the one's coming in for there's been a bit of pushing and shoving between these two. They're roughly the same size, and they're just playing together like naughty toddlers might. Nibbling away on an acacia tree with the brand new leaves. Look how delicate it's being with its trunk. Plucking gently at the leaves. It's so cute. Tiny little trunk. Not quite as coordinated as Mom's might be. Requires a bit of delicate precision. Oh, cute. And that coordination is something that's going to take some time to perfect. But still managing quite well. Just to give you a rough idea, this Ellie's probably a year old, maybe just a little bit older. So it's still suckling from Mom, but also supplementing food. Go, coming to see what Mom has been up to. Mom has just uprooted an entire raisin bush. I think Baby would like to join as well. Here we go, he's managed to grab something. Little snack. And that is so cute. Now using its little feet to dig. Try and get down to the roots and the bulbs that are under the ground. Again, not quite with the same level of coordination that Mom might show. And because they are such wonderfully intelligent animals, and they've got such a wide depth of knowledge and emotional capabilities, you can imagine how much this baby elephant is learning as it goes along through touch and smell, as well as observation of its entire family. Very, very special moment. And I think trying to sneak up to Mom for a bit of a drink now, possibly. Oh no, got a branch tucked away there. I'm going to see if there's no elephant behind me, which there isn't. I'm going to just reposition ever so slightly so that we can watch what Baby's up to. Let's just loop around and see what we can see. I'm seeing everything in real time as well as Technicolor due to a slight malfunctioning of our monitor. So I've got two different views, two different perspectives on the way things are. happening. Hello, mommy. Hello, mommy. So this is almost certainly this little baby's mother. So for their first year or two, they're going to stick very, very close to mom. But they'll also, bear in mind, they're also related to every single member of this herd. So all of the other elephants will either be cousins or aunties, older brothers. What a wonderful upbringing that must make for. Especially when your mother is 3 tons of protective maternal instinct. That certainly helps. And there, we can just see on the end of her left tusk, that's obviously been broken at some point and then rubbed down. Now we've spoken many times about the fact that elephants favour one tusk over another. And in this case, I think it's safe to assume that she favours her left one. And her tusks are completely stained. You can just see the tip of the one is white, where it's been rubbed, but most of the tusks are covered in plant material. Let's go listen to her crunch that branch. You can see how her lips are moving as well, in tandem with her trunk and the crunching motion of her teeth. Her lips are also very flexible and help her to perform the more delicate work of rotating a branch and stripping it at the same time. Using that foot to get right at the roots of this raisin bush. I think it's safe to say it's the end of it. Jesus. That kind of show of strength is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know what kind of pulling force she must have exerted there, but I can only imagine. And that was done purely with that wonderful appendage that is the trunk. And it's phenomenal to think that she can do something like that, pull a raisin bush entirely out of the ground. And you saw how deep and long those roots were as she pulled it up. You can just imagine how firmly anchored it was. She can pull down branches of knob thorns and other trees and marulas, and yet she's capable of that delicate coordination with just the tip of the trunk. They really are mind-blowingly amazing animals. The whole root system is going into her mouth now. It's very dusty, and I think she's trying to decide how she's going to approach this. Obviously, since it's just been pulled right out of the ground. Nope, not too bothered, straight in. And I think she's just going to debark the root as well. I don't think she's going to crunch all the way through it. Here you go. Look how amazingly quickly that happened. Straight through and out. Now it's hard to tell where this female ranks in terms of the social structure of this herd. Hello baby, are you coming out? Are you feeling brave now? Coming to investigate. Just going to casually headbutt whatever Mom just pulled out of the ground. See if that does anything. Try to get a good chew on that root and find a good position to do so. It's bent at the ankles and pushing down. Hello Mom. It's okay. I'm not laughing at your baby. I think it's gorgeous. Oh, cute. Oh, time to move. This other Eddie wanted a go. But luckily, our little baby has managed to escape with some of the roots. But Auntie or cousin has decided that she wanted to have a go at whatever remains of this plant root system. A little bit younger, and she's decided to herd the other two off and away. That was very interesting to watch, because she definitely threw her weight around a little bit. Hold on. Okay. Now I said that was an auntie or a cousin, and it could well be a cousin, but it's definitely not an auntie. And that explains why the calf and the mother moved away as they did. It's actually a young bull. Looks like a young male to me. So he's just approaching the age, probably around 15 or so. So even at that age, he's nearly as big as Mom, who that female is probably in the region of 20 to 30 years old. So he's able to push his weight around a little bit. And very soon he will be out of this herd, out of this herd and off on his own. So Kathy, you were wondering how old they were, and I've given you a rough estimate. The baby is, as I said, probably about a year or just over a year old. Usually up until a year, the baby elephants come up to roughly the size of their mother's stomachs, and that makes sense, especially if you've got to suckle. And this bull is just at that age where he's going to have to leave this herd very, very soon. I'm going to try loop around, because actually I think most of our elephants have moved around ahead of us. I'm curious to see where they are going. So Liz in Wisconsin and Anna Marie, you're both really enjoying the sighting, as I am. That baby was absolutely adorable. I just love being with elephants. And yes, Anna Marie, it is a wonderfully relaxing sound somehow to listen to them crunch away. We're going to have to go that way. I think it's the only option available to us. I've been met with a wall of buffalo thorn. But it is so special to spend time with them. Interestingly enough, we're not too far away from where Scott is with those two kids. try and find a nice place to reposition. The herd is spread out in a long line like this. Where is going to be best? Stop here for the moment, see if we can get a look at these two. And then I'm going to reposition again. The herd's actually split off in different directions. The mothers with some of the younger calves have moved off, but this one is still here and suckling. Getting to the age now where mom's going to start saying no to suckle attempts. That Ellie's probably about 2 years old and soon to be weaned. And it's interesting that some of the most noisy elephants I've heard in herds like this have been young babies about that age who are begging for milk from their mothers. They can make a tremendous racket. Now, you can see her tusks protruding slightly. And we had a question about why it is that these Ellie's tusks are so short. And the fact is that elephant tusks will grow throughout their lives. Typically for females, they will naturally be shorter than others. But also think of it as a genetic thing. So some genetic lines are more predisposed to longer tusks than others. A lot of these elephants are quite young. Obviously, there's quite a few babies wandering around and quite a few young females and young males. So their tusks are still coming in to grow. They'll start growing them and they'll start coming through the permanent ones at about 5 years old, and then will slowly lay down deposits throughout their lives. But what we have noticed over the last 50 to 100 years is a slow selection in favor of elephants with slightly shorter tusks. Now, I've read somewhere that seeing a herd with females with small tusks is a sign of their aggression. But I actually don't believe that. Oh, there's a brew calling. Ooh. Brew and a boo-boo. Okay, well, our Ellies are actually disappearing into quite a thick drainage line. I'm going to see if I can reposition to try and get back to them again. Maybe even see if we can follow up on that female with that entertaining young calf. But in the meantime, Scott has repositioned to get a slightly better view of those two leopards. So we'll head across to him and catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone, and isn't it wonderful how we can switch between different sightings, showing you guys twice as much as any of the guests who are actually here could see on a regular game drive. And it sounds like you've been having an enjoyable sighting with the elephants. Kwatile and Tingana are now in a bit of a tricky spot for us to maneuver to, so we don't have the best views of them, but interestingly enough they appear to have become quite stationary, so aren't moving as much as they had been, so that's good for us at least now that they have stopped. We can try possibly in position shortly. Very, very interesting information though. Karula, like I said, was found
within the Galago camp a little bit earlier, and she sounds like, well, she definitely moved out of the camp, and it sounds like she's actually following this mating pair. Texan managed to find her not far from where we are now, probably a quarter of a mile, and they lost her heading in this direction through some very thick bush. And just a few moments ago we heard a tree squirrel calling just to the south of us, so in the same trajectory or general direction that Karula was heading. So hopefully we might be able to see a third adult leopard in this sighting. It'll be phenomenal if we do, and she could appear at any moment. This is Karula's territory, and Kwatile is way out of her territory, and the females will compete ferociously with one another for territories. It depends, not every day or every time they come across one another will an epic battle ensue, but it can get to that stage, and I think Karula knows exactly what's going on. Their hearing is so much better than ours, and she can probably hear this mating going on and is wondering to herself what exactly is happening, which female is here. Maybe they interacted last night and we're not aware of it, but it's certainly exciting prospects. I think we should try and reposition now, and it may take a minute or so because the vegetation is thick, but I think we could just be able to get you into a better spot.